This is just the beginning. To uncover more of humanity's journey in the stars, subscribe and join us for the next thrilling chapter. Before a cliffhanger, right at a pivotal moment in the story, you can tease the next episode with a hint for viewers to subscribe. The Galactic Council was an institution revered and feared by billions across the galaxy, an empire of interconnected worlds where the strongest governed the fates of all. Composed of ancient species who'd reached the stars eons before humans could even grasp fire, the Council's authority was unchallenged. When they summoned Earth's representatives to discuss interstellar integration, humanity could hardly refuse the call. What came, however, wasn't an invitation, it was a veiled ultimatum. A high-ranking counselor, adorned in robes of authority and insignias of alien lineage, outlined their demands to Earth's ambassadors with cold indifference. Earth was to join the Council as a vassal state, willingly yielding autonomy over its governance, technology, and resources. In exchange, they would receive protection and guidance, a diplomatic euphemism for subjugation. Humanity would have to share its growing technological insights and its unique perspectives on resource management, something the Council admitted was peculiarly efficient. In human hands? In truth, the Council had watched Earth from afar, uneasy with its advancements and the unpredictability that seemed ingrained in its civilization. The Councilor's words carried the weight of an ancient, unquestionable authority. Species far more advanced and powerful than humans had bowed to this same proposal, some perhaps out of fear, others out of practicality. None had dared refuse. The Council expected Earth to comply as others had, to nod obediently and accept its new place in the hierarchy. Yet humanity's ambassadors didn't show immediate signs of compliance. They listened, observed, and even discussed amongst themselves with a calmness that didn't seem fitting for such a grave moment. They knew they were being asked to abandon everything they'd built, everything that had brought them this far into the galaxy. Their silence spoke volumes, but it wasn't the silence of agreement. The Council members noticed it, too, and behind their stoic facades, whispers of confusion and irritation flickered. The audacity of Earth's representatives to hesitate, to question, was unexpected. For centuries, the Council's word had been enough to tame civilizations that could wipe humanity from existence. But humanity's leaders didn't look intimidated, they looked determined. Upon returning to Earth, the ambassadors brought the Council's proposal to humanity's leaders, scientists, strategists, heads of states, and cultural icons all gathered in what was to become one of the most critical debates in human history. Accepting the Council's terms meant peace under domination, a comfortable future under strict control. Refusal meant potential war, one they knew they were ill-prepared for by conventional standards. The debate was intense. Some argued that joining the Council was a necessary sacrifice, that humanity could adapt and, perhaps over generations, integrate while retaining fragments of its identity. Survival is key, some argued, and survival means compromise. Yet others, particularly those who had tasted Earth's struggles and triumphs firsthand, were vehemently opposed. They saw the Council's terms as an insult to humanity's hard-won freedom and growth. The Council didn't want Earth as a partner, it wanted a puppet. As discussions continued, an idea crystallized, a collective belief that humanity's worth lay not just in its advancements but in its resilience, in the tireless pursuit of freedom and autonomy. Earth wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. To relinquish it, to bow down under foreign rule, felt like a betrayal of everything that defined them. History was filled with humanity's struggles for sovereignty, from ancient civilizations resisting empires to modern nations winning independence. The people of Earth carried that legacy in their veins. They were bound by it, forged through countless battles, both internal and external, that had ultimately shaped them. Finally, the decision was made. Humanity's response would be firm, unyielding. They drafted a reply that, to the Council's ears, would be utterly inconceivable. It was a manifesto, more than an answer, an assertion that Earth would not submit. Respectful yet resolute, it rejected the Council's terms, stating that while humanity valued the opportunity to interact with other civilizations, it would only do so as an equal. They made it clear that they saw cooperation as beneficial but not under the yoke of forced allegiance. In their reply, they questioned the Council's very nature, suggesting that true alliances could not be born of domination. When the message was sent, the Council was taken aback. The galaxy's ruling body, undefeated for millennia, had just been defied by a young, comparatively primitive species. Within the council chamber, there was disbelief. Murmurs turned into heated discussions. The councilors, used to unwavering obedience, saw humanity's defiance as an affront. Council members attempted to rationalize it. Perhaps humans were merely ignorant of the true scope of the council's power. Or maybe they misunderstood the offer. Some argued for leniency, suggesting that humanity be granted more time to see reason. But others demanded immediate action, punishment even, to show what happened to those who dared to defy. Among the diverse voices in the council, a chilling consensus emerged. Humanity's defiance would not go unanswered. If Earth insisted on standing alone, then it would bear the full weight of that choice. The council deliberated on measures of subjugation, sanctions that could cripple a developing world, and if necessary, the potential for a military show of force to remind Earth and anyone else watching of the Council's supremacy. But Earth was not entirely blind to the risks. In the days that followed their response, humanity mobilized in ways that surprised even its own leaders. Innovation surged as scientists worked around the clock, devising new technologies, refining defense systems, and preparing for the worst. Civilian sectors contributed in ways they hadn't before, with engineers, programmers, and researchers focusing their efforts on survival. The shared threat, the looming shadow of the Council's response, created a unity across the globe that hadn't been seen before. It was more than national pride, it was a sense of duty to defend the ideals of freedom and sovereignty, not just for Earth but for all who could be inspired by their stand. On the surface, Earth's reply to the Council seemed brash, foolhardy even. But it wasn't ignorance of the Council's power that had driven them to it. It was the firm belief that some things were worth risking everything for. And as humanity braced for the unknown, they sent one last broadcast to the stars, a message that would echo through the minds of countless alien species. We are free, and we intend to remain so. The Council, watching from the distant reaches of the galaxy, recognized the message for what it was, a declaration of human resolve. The Council had counted on humanity's fear of its vast power, but they hadn't anticipated that humanity's spirit could rise higher than its fear. That single transmission, filled with quiet defiance, spoke of a strength that wasn't bound by fleets or weapons but by an unbreakable will. The Council, for the first time in millennia, faced an opponent it didn't fully understand, a civilization that might be young but held the audacity to assert its place among the stars unchained. The response from Earth was delivered swiftly to the Galactic Council's headquarters, an architectural marvel suspended in the dark expanse of space, orbiting a colossal, cold star. As the transmission played, the councilors sat in stunned silence. Humanity's reply was clear: they rejected the Council's terms. They would not submit to integration under such conditions. They expressed a willingness to collaborate, to share in knowledge and growth, but only as equals, not as subjugates. The Council had expected hesitation, perhaps fear, even the faint glimmer of negotiation, but outright refusal? This was unprecedented. Among the Council's elite, the atmosphere shifted rapidly from shock to anger. No species had ever dared to respond to the Council with such insolence. These humans, barely into their era of interstellar exploration, were somehow able to look the Council's emissaries in the eye and dismiss their authority. The ruling members exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to comprehend this display of defiance. In whispers at first, then in heated arguments, they debated the implications. This was no mere refusal. It was a message that reverberated through the political heart of the galaxy, hinting at a new, uncomfortable reality. Humanity would not be governed. The Council members, creatures of long life and longer memories, recalled species after species they had brought into their fold. Each had bent to the Council's will, some even grateful for the protection and technological advances offered in return. But the humans seemed different. There was a stubbornness, a confidence that the Council found both troubling and inspiring. Some among the councilors felt a grudging respect for Earth's bold stance, though they dared not voice it. Others were enraged, fearing that this single act of defiance could embolden other species currently under Council rule. One counselor, a grizzled tactician from a race renowned for their brutal enforcement of Council decrees, leaned forward. "We must remind these humans of their place," he hissed, eyes narrowing. "They are a young species, blind to the consequences of defiance. They believe they have power, but they have not seen true power." His words, resonating with bitterness, were met with nods of agreement from other council members who, too, were all too willing to put humanity back in line. However, another voice, calm but piercing, interjected. This counselor, a diplomat from a race known for its calculated restraint, spoke cautiously. "Consider the risk," she warned. "If we retaliate too harshly, we might validate their concerns. We would turn them from a potential ally into a threat." Still, humanity's defiance had awakened a primal urge within the Council to reassert its control. They drafted an ultimatum more severe than the first, demanding immediate compliance, stripping Earth of any illusions of choice. The message would be sent across the galaxy, a clear declaration of the Council's authority, a signal to all watching that defiance would not be tolerated. If the humans refused this time, they would face not only the Council's fleet but also an unyielding campaign to remind them of the consequences of disobedience. Back on Earth, humanity was anything but idle. News of the Council's reaction had leaked through classified channels, and the implications were clear. This wasn't merely about humanity's freedom, but about their survival. As Earth's leaders reviewed the Council's second demand, it became evident that the stakes had escalated. The ultimatum was harsher, replete with threats of sanctions, blockades, and, most ominously, the mention of intervention. Earth's leaders understood the peril but were undeterred. If the Council intended to bully them, they'd chosen the wrong species. Across the globe, scientists, engineers, strategists, and ordinary citizens rallied. This wasn't just a government decision, it was a global movement, fueled by a collective resolve to protect Earth's sovereignty. Humanity pooled its resources, intellect, and resilience, repurposing technology, innovating where innovation seemed impossible. Every corner of Earth's scientific community collaborated, breaking down barriers between nations and cultures in an unprecedented show of unity. In underground labs, research facilities, and hidden bunkers, some of the greatest minds on Earth worked tirelessly, developing technology to protect against potential alien invasion. They adapted existing defense mechanisms, created new algorithms, and pushed every known scientific boundary. They studied the Council's technologies, carefully analyzing whatever data they had from first contact and integrating these insights into their preparations. If a fight was coming, Earth would be ready to meet it. Humanity's resistance wasn't just a display of technological prowess but an expression of something more profound. It was an assertion of values, of a belief that no species, however powerful, had the right to impose its will on another. Humanity broadcast a message of solidarity across their networks, unifying their stance with a spirit of courage and hope. It was a defiant stance, meant not just for Earth but for all civilizations across the galaxy, any who might one day find themselves under the Council's shadow. They wanted the galaxy to know, humanity would not be bent. And indeed, the broadcast did not go unnoticed. As Earth's message spread across the galactic networks, whispered conversations began to take place in the shadowed halls of distant worlds. Some species saw Earth's defiance as reckless, a death wish. But others felt the stirrings of something they had long forgotten: hope. If these humans could stand up to the Council, perhaps they too could imagine a life without subjugation. Perhaps Earth's defiance was not just an isolated act of rebellion but the beginning of a movement that might ripple through the galaxy. Within days, small groups on distant planets began to echo Earth's sentiments. These were whispers, fragile and hidden from the Council's gaze, but they existed. A silent solidarity with Earth grew, an unseen network of support in places the Council thought were fully under control. It was not yet a rebellion, but it was the first spark, and humanity's stance had fanned its flames. The Council watched with growing unease. Their plan to crush humanity into submission was evolving into something else, a lesson they had not anticipated. Humanity's defiance, rather than quelling potential dissent, was igniting it. Other civilizations, though silent, began to see in Earth's response the possibility of their own resistance. Even among Council-controlled media channels, rumors and stories leaked, recounting Earth's response with intrigue and, occasionally, admiration. The Council attempted to suppress these reports, but the message had already begun to spread. Humanity had, in its defiance, accomplished more than it could have realized. They had planted seeds of dissent in the heart of the Council's empire, and the galaxy was starting to listen. There was now a strange, disquieting respect for humanity, as if this young species, so brash in its resolve, embodied a quality long buried in the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Earth, against all odds, had shown a willingness to face down the greatest power in existence, and had stood its ground. The Council had no choice now but to proceed with their plans, but they knew they were facing an unprecedented challenge. If they crushed humanity, they risked martyring them, turning Earth into a symbol of resistance across the galaxy. But if they allowed humanity to continue unchallenged, they threatened their own credibility, their control. Humanity had created a dilemma for the Council, forcing them to confront a choice they'd never thought they would have to make. The message was clear: Earth would not be conquered by threats. The Council's retaliation was swift and calculated. A fleet, formidable and vast, set course for Earth, an unmistakable display of the Council's might. The Council's strategists had long deemed this approach effective, a show of power so overwhelming that even the most defiant would bow. This fleet represented the zenith of the Council's military prowess, filled with warships, command centers, and technological marvels that most species in the galaxy could hardly comprehend, let alone combat. But the humans had forced their hand, and so the Council sought to make an example of them. On Earth, the news of the approaching fleet didn't incite panic as the Council expected. Instead, it sparked determination. Humanity had anticipated this reaction, and in the weeks leading up to the fleet's arrival, Earth had become a hive of coordinated preparation. In the makeshift command centers of their united defense effort, human leaders weren't discussing terms of surrender. They were strategizing for survival. Humanity had no illusions about the disparity in firepower. They knew they couldn't match the Council's fleet ship for ship. But surrender was out of the question, so they would have to outthink and outmaneuver their technologically superior foe. Earth scientists and engineers had been working around the clock, developing new technologies, adapting existing ones, and leveraging every advantage Earth could muster. In one corner of this concerted effort, teams were developing defensive measures that were unconventional by alien standards. Humans didn't have the Council's advanced weaponry, but they had the unique advantage of ingenuity born from millennia of conflict and competition on a crowded planet. This drive had fostered an ability to improvise, and that improvisation had birthed solutions the Council couldn't predict. A network of satellite defenses, each equipped with electromagnetic shields and decoy emitters, was activated to mislead and disrupt incoming Council scans. These satellites, while simple by Council standards, were used in creative formations to appear as larger ships or relay false signals, cluttering the Council fleet's navigational data. This forced the fleet to slow down and assess the situation, an inconvenience the Council hadn't anticipated. Humanity had effectively created an illusion of a sprawling defensive network, when in reality, their resources were stretched thin. To the Council, this tactic appeared desperate, even laughable, but it was enough to cause a hesitation. While the fleet moved cautiously forward, Earth's tactical planners initiated their next move. They launched small, unmanned vessels toward the fleet, each carrying modified electromagnetic pulses. These vessels were primitive by interstellar standards, simple drones by comparison to the Council's craft, but they served their purpose. As they neared the fleet, they detonated, creating disruptive fields that interfered with targeting systems. The fleet's scanners flickered, and Council officers noted with frustration as their systems struggled to recalibrate. Earth's maneuvers weren't about direct confrontation. They knew better than to confront the fleet head-on. Instead, humanity relied on tactics designed to confuse and frustrate, exploiting any delay, any error the fleet made, to buy time. Every second the Council spent recalibrating was another second for Earth to prepare for the next phase of their defense. The Council's forces were unaccustomed to this kind of guerrilla warfare in space, and even as they moved closer to Earth, the human strategy disrupted their well-oiled machine. On the ground, civilians joined the effort in any way they could. In a true display of unity, humanity operated as one organism, each part contributing to the whole. Some civilians worked to distribute emergency supplies, while others volunteered in the defense network, monitoring the status of Earth's meager satellite defenses and communication lines. Hackers worked around the clock, attacking the fleet's systems in relentless waves, seeking any vulnerability in the Council's high-tech armor. They breached minor systems, causing glitches in communication arrays and delaying orders from reaching the frontline ships. Small victories, but each one bought humanity a few more precious moments. And then came the first real breakthrough. In the chaos of Earth's unconventional tactics, one of the Council's warships made a critical error. A delay in recalibration caused it to drift slightly out of formation, exposing a weak point in its defenses. Human tacticians spotted the vulnerability and seized the opportunity. They coordinated a strike, launching a barrage of kinetic missiles aimed directly at the exposed warship. The missiles weren't powerful enough to destroy the ship outright, but they caused enough damage to disable it temporarily. The sight of a Council ship, damaged and off course, sent a surge of hope through Earth's defenders. This victory, though small, was unprecedented. Never before had a species this young dealt any real damage to the Council's fleet. For the Council's commanders, the incident was a humiliating reminder that they'd underestimated this so-called primitive race. They hadn't expected humans to strike so effectively, using every weakness and exploiting every gap in their lines. What they had perceived as inferior tactics were proving to be a significant threat, each disruption compounding the other, forcing the fleet to recalibrate with every maneuver. Meanwhile, on planets across the galaxy, news of Earth's resistance had begun to spread. Alien species, many under Council control for centuries, were captivated by humanity's defiance. They watched in awe as Earth fought back, each move a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of a people who refused to be subdued. For some, humanity's stand stirred emotions that had long lain dormant, a yearning for autonomy, a hope that they, too, might one day resist. The Council's fleet was now close enough to initiate the final phase of its approach, yet the battle had already taken a toll. Resources were stretched, orders delayed, and morale shaken. The Council hadn't anticipated this level of resistance, and the once straightforward operation had become a lesson in the cost of underestimating an opponent. The Council's commanders exchanged terse words, aware that every delay not only prolonged the engagement but chipped away at the Council's authority across the galaxy. Their most intimidating fleet, once believed invincible, was being held at bay by a planet that hadn't even left its own solar system a few decades ago. In a final bid to secure Earth, the Council's commanders authorized the use of a concentrated energy weapon, one capable of disabling Earth's defenses in a single strike. But Earth's tacticians, alert to every move, had anticipated a drastic response. Just as the Council prepared to fire, Earth's network of decoy emitters activated in perfect synchronization, scattering the weapon's targeting data. The Council's shot went wide, missing its mark by miles. A costly miscalculation that left their fleet further exposed. As the Council's weapon missed, a ripple of disbelief spread through the fleet's ranks. Their commanders, usually so confident, now exchanged uneasy glances. Humanity had not only survived their onslaught but had turned the tables, using misdirection, deception, and sheer determination to hold them at bay. The Council's fleet, designed to dominate through intimidation, was now embroiled in a conflict that it couldn't resolve with brute force alone. Back on Earth, the news of the Council's misfire galvanized the people. Cheers erupted across cities and towns, hope surging in a moment of collective triumph. Humanity, a species the Council had dismissed as an upstart, had defied them, not through overwhelming force, but through the power of unified resolve, ingenuity, and a refusal to be cowed. They had shown the galaxy what it meant to stand firm, to fight against overwhelming odds with every fiber of their being. In the aftermath of the Council's failed assault, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Earth had done the impossible, survived an encounter with the Council's most fearsome fleet, holding its ground against insurmountable odds. News of humanity's stand spread like wildfire, reaching the farthest corners of the Council's empire, igniting conversations on planets where even the thought of resistance had been buried for centuries. To the Council's dismay, Earth was no longer seen as a fledgling civilization overstepping its bounds. It was now a symbol of defiance, a beacon for those who yearned to break free from the Council's grip. On worlds where resistance was once unthinkable, whispers of rebellion began to circulate. Minor uprisings that had been swiftly quelled in the past gained new life, emboldened by Earth's resilience. Even those who'd lost hope in the idea of autonomy found themselves contemplating the possibility that perhaps the Council was not as invincible as it claimed. Earth's defiance had shown that the Council could be challenged, that with the right resolve, even the mightiest force could be kept at bay. Humanity's actions were a catalyst, sparking a quiet rebellion across the galaxy, planting seeds that the Council would struggle to uproot. The Council was left in a precarious position. They had tried to crush Earth swiftly and decisively, yet had failed. Their defeat was an open wound, one that refused to heal, festering in full view of the galaxy. In private chambers, the Council convened, engaging in tense deliberations. To acknowledge the failure publicly would undermine their authority further, yet hiding it would only breed rumors that could be equally damaging. They knew that whatever course they took, the perception of their omnipotence had been shattered. In an attempt to control the narrative, the Council released a statement to the galaxy, framing the conflict as a misunderstanding, an unfortunate miscommunication between themselves and Earth. They claimed that humanity's unconventional tactics were unforeseen but commendable, attempting to twist the events into a story of cooperation and mutual respect. Yet the galaxy saw through the thin veneer of diplomacy. The Council's reputation as an unbeatable force was irreparably damaged, and no amount of public relations could change that. What the Council saw as damage control, others saw as a desperate attempt to save face. For humanity, however, the victory brought a new set of challenges. They had earned their place on the galactic stage, but with that recognition came the watchful eyes of countless civilizations. Some allies were inspired, ready to support Earth's continued defiance, while others viewed them with a cautious curiosity, observing from afar, waiting to see what Earth would do next. The Council's response, though neutral in tone, carried an implied warning. They had left Earth untouched for now, but they would be watching closely, seeking any opportunity to reassert control. The Council couldn't afford to strike again immediately, but their power was vast and their reach long. They would not forget this defiance. Aware of this, humanity took steps to prepare for the future. They knew that one victory did not guarantee safety. With the reprieve, they intensified their efforts to fortify Earth's defenses, developing alliances with other like-minded species who had been emboldened by their example. Messages of solidarity arrived from across the galaxy, hidden transmissions from species long subjugated, expressing gratitude, admiration, and even offers of aid. Earth found itself at the center of an emerging network of resistance, a role it had never sought but had now undeniably earned. In these exchanges, Earth's leaders recognized a powerful opportunity. If the galaxy had once seen humans as upstarts, it now saw them as potential liberators, allies in a shared struggle for freedom. Humanity began to reach out to these suppressed civilizations, not with the heavy-handed demands the Council was known for, but with genuine empathy. They didn't see themselves as conquerors or saviors. They simply wanted a galaxy where autonomy was respected, where each world could shape its own destiny. These gestures earned them a reputation as a species that understood the value of independence, of self-determination, a people who had faced tyranny and refused to bend. Gradually, the movement coalesced. It wasn't a formal alliance or a structured coalition. It was an unspoken agreement, a mutual understanding that wherever oppression reigned, there would be those who would push back. Earth's role was to provide a voice for these silent rebellions, to amplify the courage of others, even when they themselves could not act openly. Humanity's broadcasts were picked up on countless worlds, shared in secret, giving those under the Council's rules something they had been denied for generations, a vision of freedom. The Council, realizing the growing threat, began to ramp up its internal control measures, tightening its grip on discontented planets, and cracking down on any signs of rebellion. Yet the more they tried to suppress these movements, the more they validated Earth's defiance. The Council's measures, though ruthless, only served to highlight the very injustices humanity had resisted. For every uprising they quashed, two more rose in its place, fueled by the knowledge that Earth had not only survived but continued to stand firm. As Earth consolidated its alliances, they remained vigilant. Humanity understood that while they had gained temporary security, the galaxy was a volatile place, and the Council's reach was still formidable. But Earth was no longer isolated. In whispers, in quiet acts of defiance, the galaxy had begun to change. The idea of sovereignty, once buried under centuries of Council domination, was now alive, pulsing through the minds of countless beings who had once accepted their fate without question. In a final message to the galaxy, Earth's leaders transmitted a statement that would become legendary. It wasn't a call to arms or a declaration of war, but a simple expression of hope and resolve. To all who watch and listen, know this: we are free, and we believe freedom is the birthright of every civilization. The choice to shape one's destiny belongs to all who dwell among the stars. We are here, standing for that belief, and we will continue to stand. The Council, watching from afar, understood that this wasn't just a statement from Earth. It was a proclamation for all who sought to break free. Humanity's defiance had done more than win a battle. It had sparked a fire that, once lit, could not be easily extinguished. And though the Council remained powerful, it now faced a galaxy where the spirit of independence, once smothered, was reborn. Earth had become a symbol, not by choice, but by consequence. The galaxy would remember the day humanity refused to negotiate, the day they showed that even the most powerful could be defied by those with the courage to stand unbroken. And from that day on, Earth was no longer just a planet, it was a beacon, a light in the dark, guiding others toward the possibility of freedom.